Hey, Chris here. Thanks for joining me on the first video of actually doing some work on this Volvo. So yeah, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get some action footage as such into some of these videos across this build process. Starting with the bodywork, first thing I'm going to look at is prepping it. I just want to go through some of the methods I do, some of the things I try, some of the products I use. Just try and help a few people out. I do get the odd question here and there of how would you do this, how would you do that, what can you recommend, what sort of bits do you use, and things like that. So I'm just thinking with this project, if I can try and incorporate some of the bits I do and try and show you some of the bits I do and some of the products I'm using, and I can, try and help the people who need it as such. So the very first thing I do with every project, for those that have been watching, you probably know what I do. I tend to sand the mold lines. So as you can see, I start off with a 220 sandy sponge, and I like this stick because it's it's a good stick. It's nice and stiff, but you've also got your spongy, so it does contour to the edges really nicely. I do like that quite a lot. So I do that for the mold lines and anything else. And then once I've done with the mold lines, I use 600, maybe 800 God hand sponge, and that's good enough. And I use that all over. I just get the snips as well because, and then my knife is a bit blunt. It has been on for quite some time now. It has been well used, but I'll change this once I finish the bodywork prep. I tend to change the blades normally before I get the sheet of decals out, cut them out and whatnot. But first off, let's just carefully just try and follow that around as much as I can, get rid of most of that. And almost just try and shave it back a little bit. Oops. So, and there's going to be a little bit of a nub left, but we'll get the stick with that. Sorry, I keep catching that camera arm. And then we'll just try and get rid of this little bit just here. And once I've got most of it back, I'll just get the sanding out and just sand it smooth. So, removal of mold lines and molded in bits such as these. So I will just mark around what I want to get rid of. I'll get rid of around there. So now they're sorted, I'm going to try and see where the mold lines are. They're pretty good on these Nunu kits. We do have some just there. Some there. And what I'll do is I'll just sand away the edges as well. Even if you can't see, they're generally roughly the same places on most kits. So, and if any of this is off the screen, I do apologise. I'm not used to doing this whilst recording. I'll try and capture as much as I can. Get that up there. Get up there. And then you tend to get them up over the A-pillar. Tend to come across the back. Sometimes, even though you can't see it, you can certainly feel it sometimes as well with the marker pen. And then you tend to get them and down the boot panel line just there. It tends to come down the back. I'm not sure, but I think the panel line might be underneath. I'm not sure. Sometimes you get one across the boot lid as well. So we'll just do the other side. You can definitely feel it with a pen when you're running it across the roof panel there. So yeah, that's that. So there we are. So with this, right, So with these, I tend to snip off as much as I can using these 3 peaks blades. I'll just take off a big chunk and smooth it back. So that's them. So let's go for it. So as you see, just take your time and you just chip away at it slowly, and you do smooth it out. Don't worry, I'm not going to do all this. I'm just going to do one side. Just don't bother you too much. I don't know if you can see as well. You can see, like I say, when it contours to the shape, because it's quite a thick sponge, it contours around the body shell quite well, and because you've got that stiff bit of board in the middle, you still got good control. So I do like a good stick to work with the main bulk. These are quite good because they just go on over the top and just finish it off. As you can see, look, working with it nicely. So as you can see, you've got your shimmery side, and you can see where we've been sanding. So yeah, get it all keyed up, ready for a bit of priming before we get that colour down. Make sure we've got a nice base for that paint to grab onto and etch. And then we just smooth that bit out of there. And we have it. So that's mostly done that side. Sometimes, see what I'll do sometimes as well is I tend to just go over it again. And I might just grab an older scrap piece if I can find one. Tray full of all sorts. So we'll just go over it. It's all about the prep work. Get that smooth finish. Before painting that paint down, try and get as smooth finish as possible and get rid of any imperfections that we can. Always have a good base to work with. So it does take a little bit of time. Definitely a game of patience. But the end result is always worth it. As you can see, there's just a little bit left. Get that fresh sponge on the top. So that I would be happy with. So you can see the difference. And you can see there's no sort of reflection or shine there. So yeah. And then with the sponge, back with the sponge, just go over it. Yeah, you pull it over the roof. Taking away those mould lines. The thing is, you don't want to go too much, too heavy. You just want to go just enough. So sometimes, even obviously the black in this panel line just there, that from the marker pen, that's fine because that's in the panel line. It's not a problem at all. Sometimes I get the toothpick as well. Just put it in, see if there's any dust and debris to come out. Look. And also with the toothpick cocktail stick, I tend to use it as a guide because sometimes you can feel if there's any recesses, any divots, any chunks missing that you may not be able to with your finger. If you just lightly run this along, and you can sometimes feel it kind of snatch, flick when it catches against something. So I tend to do that once I've done a bit of sanding. When it's flicking against that, because obviously there's a panel line in there, but a bit more so because I think maybe because of the mould line, whereas it's a bit smoother over there. But yeah, so it doubles up, get a bit of dirt out, and I'll also carefully, using the back of a knife, if I need to, get any excess out. But what I tend to do is once I finish sanding, I go run it under a cold tap. When I'm running it under a cold tap, I just give it a bit of a, I've got an old mucky toothbrush, I say mucky, an old toothbrush I use for cleaning up when I've been sanding, cleaning up when I've been polishing. It's just a quite handy tool just to get rid of what I can. So anyway, back to the bit of sanding. So there we have it, one side done, again there's one side that's not. We've got a couple of pinholes in there, must be for the spoiler. So we'll have a look at that, obviously one for the wiper blade. So we'll get those pinholes cut open before we put any paint down. But you can see as well, across that panel line across the back there, mould line, sorry. So yeah, bit of a comparison, and that's what I do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump off, get the rest of it finished, get it all primed, get the colour down. So obviously for the colour for this, it's going to be a gloss white. And then we're going to get that gloss white down, and once that's down, we're going to come back and we're going to get some decals down. So be right back. Right, we're here. We've got the Volvo S40 painted in white. So you'll have to excuse the lighting, it might look a bit dull, but it is 9:10 at night, and so the lighting's not great. I've got a bit of a yellow light at the ceiling, and just to my left I've got the paint booth lights on. The problem is if I put my main LED on, it just looks a bit bizarre. So anyway, yeah, so we've got the body in colour, got the white down. So what I'm doing is I've literally picked out the left hand side. I'm going to start with the left hand side, and I've picked out all the decals that I need to fulfill this side. So it's going to be a bit of a lengthy process because, for example, you've got this, the blue and yellow tiger stripe as such, that'll go on first, and then that needs to dry. I need to microsole that to get it into all the nooks and crannies. Then the S40, then you've got the Auto Trader white placard before putting the 3 on. So it's all building up. Then you've got like the black, there's a black decal across the skirt. Then obviously you've got the white decals on top. So it's going to be a bit of a timely process. So what I'll do is I'll just do a bit of a snippet now of mainly the base, the blue and yellow stripe, and I'll get a couple of the Formula ones, a couple of these on, look, some of the smaller ones, and I just really to show you what I use. So I mean, for starters, glass mat. I've got a glass mat. It's a God hand one, and I just like using this just for cutting out masking tape, cutting out my decals. It's a cracking bit of kit. For tweezers, I've got some Tamiya ones, and some Display ones. These are actually sent out to me from Scale Riders. So Edgar, thank you very much for those. They're absolutely fantastic. I love using them for decal applications. They've got a very pointy tip. This tub, I'll fill it up with warm water from the tap, and this is once I've been in there for a short while, I'll get wick the excess water off on there, and then onto the body. Now then, this little funky holder. This is 3D printed, and this was sent to me by Suited Mando. So Ant, thank you very much for that, mate. I really do appreciate it. I've had this for, gosh, it's been quite a few years now, and it's absolutely sorted. The bottles are well in there, so, and it's going to be quite hard to, you can't really it'll take some doing to knock it over. And as you can see, I've just got a couple of old brushes. I use this brush just for the micro set, and I use this brush just for the micro sole, and I've just got some cotton swabs. So yeah, that's some of the bits and some of the equipment I use. And this is just a plastic blister pack from actually Pokemon, some Pokemon card blister pack, and it's just when I'm finished, when the backing, just go straight into their little container tub, and then once obviously I'll empty it out. So yeah, this is how I get organised before doing some decal work. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to flick on this light, get some hot water, and then get down to business. So I'll be right back. Right. Also, one thing I did forget to mention is I've got the bumpers taped on the inside, just so I can kind of get everything lined up. So let's make a start. Well, we can start with this, with the big one. That's just going to go in the water. It's actually much bigger than the tub of water, unfortunately, but we can get that in there. It'll curl around. That's absolutely fine. We'll get it in there for a good soak. So what I have to do, I do like to, possibly a bit too much for some, but I'm going to pop this light on, so excuse me. I just like to get a right good view. First of all, just going to give the surface a bit of a wipe with a microfiber cloth. Do you know, to be honest, when I was painting this, it felt like I've actually forgot how to paint after painting that big GTR. Oh my goodness, it's like worlds apart. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So, I'm not going to be shy with this. I will apply a generous amount of micro set. Yep. And we'll get plenty on there, plenty all over. Absolutely stinks like vinegar. I've got plenty on there. Not doing that. See how it moves off. And what I'll do is I'll figure out roughly where I need to be, and I'll start with one corner. As you can see, I've started there. You can kind of see the edge of the decal. It follows the arch of the body and this above the skirt. So we'll just have that going up there. Now, the next thing I do is, if I use my dry finger, it can get stuck at times. So what I'll do is I'll moisten my fingers up. Then what that allows me to do is it allows me to manoeuvre the decals some. What we've got, it looks a bit longer in places. And it should. So if we can get, kind of see where I need to be on there. I'll try and get it a bit to match on here. Sometimes it feels like you're trying to stretch it into place. They feel quite thick, these ones. I think thereabouts. I'm not worried about that at the minute. So right, let's get this in there. Should just be parallel with the bottom. I think that it looks like it should be. Yep, there it is. So it looked like before I pulled that bottom bit out, it was just following that panel line between the back quarter panel and top of the bumper. Upon closer inspection of the sheet, you can kind of see there's an angled bit So that's why I've just pulled that out using that wet brush. So we've got that out. So all this that's overhanging, I'm not worried about that, because I'm gonna, things like this I leave overnight, then come back the following day and apply some microsol. And what that'll do, that'll help contour these decals around these body strips and around any curves and around these edges. It'll actually fold them around, and it'll kind of like, it's almost like melting really. And you can see, like, if I could just an example, folding it around there, obviously it's bringing that up, but you know, just keeping it quite wet with this. Make sure I get some around the edges so I can get underneath if I need to move it. Again, wash my fingers. Now we want to have a look again at the reference photo. So we do have a gap between the top and that blue part just there. There is a gap across the top there. So if we have a look, that top, it should follow sort of the top of the door line at the back there. So I don't know if I need to raise that a little bit. It looks like where it comes off the back at the point where it starts to come down, that's in line with there. And if you look where I've got it, it's currently, the point is just below. So what we need to do is try and just get that point up there. But when you move that bit, you have to move the rest. It's quite a time consuming thing, this. It's not something I normally do on video, because I'm quite restricted on view because I've got my camera out in front of me. So I'm trying to do my best. And we'll just get this spread out. I think. Bear with me 1 second. So yeah, and that again is why I've taped on the bumpers, because obviously you've got part of this decal from the main body overhanging this body. So tomorrow, obviously once I've left this overnight, and in the morning it's been nice and dry and a little bit crispy, where it's not on an edge as such. So what I'll do is I'll get a nice fresh blade and I'll just trim it ever so gently, just across there. So obviously we'll have this bit of corner on this bumper, so then I can take the bumper off and I'm ready to do what I need to do. So just working this in around, making sure I'm happy, making sure we've got most of it pretty flat. I mean, it will probably move a bit once we get the cotton swabs rolling. So yeah, I mean, already that looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Alright, so let's get that on there. I think I'm quite happy with that. So what I'll do is I just tend to wick away whatever I can. Literally gliding this over, hardly any force at all. What I want to do at the moment is just take any surface excess off first. Get rid of all that surface, so I can kind of see and get a bit of idea if there's any creases, any folds that might be hidden by the solution. So you can see just up at the top there, so just a couple of minute ones. So I just gently caress the folds outwards and backwards, and we're just stretching that out, and we get that on there. Get that around there. So yeah, definitely going to be a slow process, this. A little bit concerned because it's been quite some time since I've done such a a big decal like this. I think the last time I've done such a big one was the Subaru, but that was fairly easy. I could cut that into sections with, you know, the big swipe and the stars in the Subaru. It was just designed with a lot of carrier film, so I could be able to cut away a lot of the carrier film and just have this, the image. But this is obviously one big thing, and it's quite nerve-wracking. I don't often do big things like this, big decal jobs, but it's nice to be able to do it. And obviously you've just got between the door there, you've got your cap between the door trim. So I'm a little bit worried about that. Yeah, if you overdo it, sometimes if you overdo it, you can start ripping them. That's one thing I don't want to do. Don't want to start ripping it, especially as it's not mine. So far, it's been nice to work with. It's a bit thick, don't get me wrong. But what I'm going to do, probably going to leave that as it is for now. On this video, as you can see, I've got most of the. I get to a point where I've got most of the surface. I do start to put a bit more pressure on, and I start to roll. If you can see, roll. What I'm trying to do is as I'm rolling it like this, pushing it, trying to move the excess out that's not needed underneath. And then, what I'll do is leave this overnight. And I tend to do, like for example, tonight's Monday. On a Tuesday morning, I'll apply a quick microsole and work that in gently, just a little bit here and there. Go to work, come back, probably do another coat of microsole as well, and really get that decal into all the grooves and get it to really conform around all the shapes. So I think that's what I'm going to do for now. I'm just going to leave this for tonight. We'll leave this video here, and we'll go off, and we'll leave it, and we'll come back in the morning, quick microsole, head off to work, get back, do another one, and I'll get back and record a bit more of this video. So for now, I'm going to leave it there, and then the next bit of the video we're going to look at after we've applied some microsole. I mean, you can start to see, if I can get the light on it, get it contoured around that door handle there. Just a bit more around here. A little bit worried about the in between the door bit there. Not sure how that's going to fare. Let's see. I'm a bit worried. I don't want it to crease up. I don't want it to look because I'm trying to get in between, and it's just causing folds and creases. Can't really see too well on there, but I'm hoping if I can just kind of smooth it out a little bit. I'm hoping a few applications of microsole will help get that settled. So yeah, you can see what I mean by this light. It looks like the alien's going down to zap us up. But anyway, there we are. So that's Monday night. It's now 9:30. So that's 20 minutes faffing about with that, messing about with that. So we're going to leave it as it is. Like I say, we'll come back in the morning. I'll get some microsol, head off to work, get back, do some microsol, and then I'll come back a couple of hours later with some footage of said results of the 2 microsol coats. So video terms, be right back, but in actual lifetime, yeah, see you tomorrow. I'm back. So in video terms, it's probably about a nanosecond, but in actual real life terms, it's following day. It's Tuesday. I don't know, it's going to be about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the evening. So yeah, we this morning before work, I did a passing of microsol. I actually did 2. I did 1 to wet it and come back about half an hour later, just to wet it a bit more and try and work it into and around some of the body mouldings. And then done a little bit this evening. So what I've got is I used this. It's actually a Tamiya brush. It's obviously a bit frayed, but I ain't bothered. I like the flexibility of it, and because it's quite wide, there's quite a bit of sturdiness while still having that flexibility. I'm probably not describing it well, but it works. So excuse me. What I did this morning, what I do every time, I get not too much, but not too little. I get it on and I just push it on. I go all over, push it on, and then we work it in. So paint it on, and then once the whole area is wet, I actually, just very carefully, I'll try and demonstrate if I can. Like you've got this step down on the door bump strip, steps down a little bit just there, and then you've got a bit of excess there. So I've been slowly trying to work away at it, but I just want to be careful because I don't want to rip it. So as you can see, I've worked around the bump stops, and I don't know how well you can see the front one. Let me just, if I can dry it off so you can see it a bit better. As you can see, if I'll show you, you can see how it's formed around that bump stop. So again, it's a very slow process. It really is. And if I can just dry it around, because what we've got, I want to see if there's any air bubbles still, and if there is, just need to try and work them out. So let's just dry it off. So it looks like there's a tiny air bubble just up here. It's quite hard to see. It's minute, absolutely tiny. So I'll work that a little bit more. That's starting to take shape nicely. Just a bit more work around the back. So yeah, it's the things like these, I don't do them often because they take time, and sometimes I just want a quick build. I just want to get that build, I want to get it up, I want to get it done, I want to get it finished, I want to get on to the next one. I don't want to lose interest in them. That's the last thing I want to do. I don't want to lose any interest in these projects. However, when I do something like this, obviously it's going to need that time, it's going to need that patience, and I'll try my best to take my time and really be careful. And as you can see, look, with the brush tip, using it sideways on, I'm trying to get it to fit in and around that body strip. And what I do is actually leave it to dry, air dry itself naturally, dry as well. Just get it in that panel line across the bottom, above that side skirt. And obviously we've got the door panel lines, and up here we've got the door handle. So we'll just sometimes I dab over and over to try and push it in. Not too much force, just a little. Just a little, not a lot. Try and work it in. And then, again, I might do this over 2 or 3 days. I have done sometimes. I've done maybe 4 passes of microsol on these. You've got your fuel filler cap at the back here. And again, I'll just go around, fold it around that panel line, try and stretch and melt as such that decal into the panel line. So now I'll show you what I do with the big tricky ones. I'm going to show you what I do with the little ones. And what we'll probably go with this Q8 formula. Go for that one, look at that. And then what else should we go for? I might try and do this little one at the back here. 2 different sizes. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do these 2 on camera, just show you what I do, obviously, so you've seen how I work with the big ones. The little ones, they're obviously much quicker. I just wanted to show you how I'm going to do that. So let's just get these into the water. This is fresh warm water. So by the time I've got these, into the water. It's a tricky bugger, this one. Right, so they're in the water. So now what I'm going to do now is just get my micro set. I'll go with the Q8 formula first. It's going to be over the front wing. So you've got, the way I reference this, so what we do is we look at the photo, the image, you can see what I would do here is I'd section that wing. So even that's part of one wing, you've got that black line going across there where the panel goes over before it comes back up again. So I would use that as my guide. So if you see what I mean. So you've got, I would say, there, look. So that would be the black line across there. And obviously the wing goes back up. So there's your black line. So I'm going to put that Q8 formula just across here. So we'll get it nice and micro-setted as such. You can never use too much. Never use too much. So get that on there. That'll be in there long enough. Drain the excess off. Now with this, what I do is get that on there like so. Give me a little rubbish pot back. That's on there. So now we just need to get that into place. So I keep tapping this phone holder, and then what I'm trying to do is just see sort of where we need to be lined up. So you see the bottom corner of the A formula. That looks pretty square on above the side repeater. So what I would try and do now is use these references to try and get them all lined up to how they should be. So obviously it's going to be quite difficult getting it on the camera, but the perspective is, excuse the family in the background there. See, on camera that looks about right. Maybe a bit more of an angle, maybe. Let's have a look. So again, reference, let's say the Q slightly below the height of the headlight. Maybe about, but that looks too much. Should knock it back up a little bit more. Right, that I'm happy with. Let's have a bit of a quick comparison. So yeah, you can sort of about there or thereabouts. About there or thereabouts. Maybe you could sit here messing about for bloody ages, but maybe just do what you're happy with. And for me, I think I'm going to leave it at that. So now with the small decals, again like the top one where we obviously rubbed it, the excess. With these, I just go straight in at the roll in it, and I roll towards the end, and we'll get that excess out. And that now is set in place. Again, just lightly, just rolling that cotton swab over the decal. I'm thinking what I'll do. Is it perfect? Probably not. I'm happy. Absolutely. So that's that one. Now let's get the small on the back. So we've got a bit of a comparison between big. Oh, that's what happens when you leave it in the water for too long. Comes off the paper. So now I just need to scoop that up. It's ready to go. And then a bit of micro set. So this was on the back panel. Plenty of moisture. Now with these smaller decals, I go for my smaller tweezers, a bit more refined. I'm just, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to make sure I get that happy with where I want to be, and take that to the edge. And then get that on there. Oh yeah, so we're on. Right, so now we're on. What we're going to do, reference time. So that looks to me as if it's not quite straight with the panel line below it. And it's fairly central between the fuel cap and the rear light. I'll just try and figure this out. You can make it much simpler than what I do. I just, sometimes the wife would probably say I'm a bit of a perfectionist, unfortunately. It sometimes can be my downfall. What we'll do is we'll get it to where roughly whereabouts it should be. And then sometimes what you find is the diagrams, the actual scale of the diagram images might be completely off compared to the actual decals themselves when they actually applied to the body. I don't know if I've overworked that. There we go. Working some of that excess out. Just getting that. I said it's microsolved, so the decal's gonna be nice and soft and pliable. You've got to sort of see it moving. So I'm flattening it out. So now we've got that on. I just want to roll it over, get that excess out. And there we have it. That will probably do. It looks a bit wonky, but I think, to be honest, it might well be. If you're quick enough, sometimes you can adjust it before it truly sets. Again, that looks out of scale, completely out of scale compared to the image. That image looks like it's filling the back more, whereas that one doesn't look like it's filling it as much. So yeah, you kind of just do what works for you. Yeah, I can be a bit too precise at times, I think. So yeah, that's how I do my decals. So yeah, and obviously once this is finished, once it's all done, I'm undecided yet whether to do panel line before or after clear coat. I think I may do it after clear coat. Most of the time I do it before, but with this having decals, I don't want to be applying sort of cleaning solutions to clean the excess panel line wash away. So yeah, we'll probably clear coat it and then do some panel wash, and I'll obviously show you what I do with that when the time comes. But for now, I'm going to jump off screen, get this all finished up, get it cleared, and I'll be back to look at it cleared, and then we'll look at getting some panel wash on. So back in a mo. Right, here we are. In a split of a second, we've gone from nothing to this. However, in actual time, it's been over a week, which for me is a very long time between getting it prepped and getting it cleared. I'll be honest, it's been a bit of a struggle with these decals. I am quite honest. I'm the honest guy. I like to point out what I've done wrong or what's gone off, this and that and everything else. And I have obviously spoken with Lee at work. Been as I work with him, I've kept him in the progress up to date along the way, and it's been a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. It's one thing after another. So the decals were not as much fun as I thought they would be. I'll start on the sides. You've got the big sweeping blue and yellow tiger stripes. They're much bigger than what they should be. So you had a lot of, you had a bit of excess. You got to tuck it around the arches, and obviously on the back there you got to tuck it in. And then obviously on top of that you've got to get your placard on. And then obviously once that's down and sorted, then you've got your number 3. But obviously you've got to get your decal contoured around the door bump stops or whatever, and get them all sort of to shape and is it perfect? Absolutely not. It was the task, and I haven't panel lined it. No, I've been panel lining it now. It's cleared, but first, excuse me. But first, I'm going to be polishing it up because I have got some bits of dust and debris in it. But yeah, so it took over a week to get all the decals down. You'd have to start with one piece, and like that black stripe across the bottom, and the white sponsors. There's 2 separate. So you got the S40 over the blue and yellow, the number 3 on top of the auto placard on top of the blue and yellow. You got the black on top of the yellow, and there's a lot of microsole to make sure things are have sunk as such, conformed to the edges and whatever else into the recesses, such as the back. If we can get zoomed in. So we just look at the back. You've got the strip across there, and you can't really see it because it's yellow, but where your keyhole is for the boot, obviously that'll be panel lined. I'll try and get that in there. This was a pain in the backside. The S40 and the Volvo. So when it comes, I'll be honest. That is one separate panel. That's one separate panel. And I only realised I'd forgot to paint them once I was ready to 2K it all, and I was like, oh, damn, blast. I had to pick them out, get them primed, get them painted. Obviously wait a day for the paint to dry and cure. Put the decals in the hot water, and they just instantly came off the backing paper, instantly folded up and shriveled and folded up and whatever else, and I just couldn't use them. So I had to, there's a little technique where you get an old pencil like this with a flat rubber head, painted it silver, did the excess onto a bit of kitchen roll and just dabbed it on. However, when I dabbed it onto the Volvo, you got a bit of excess around the edge, and when I cleaned it up, unfortunately I took the paint off. Therefore, I had to repaint that back panel there. It's just been, so that. So yeah, the clear coat went down really well. Like I say, it's a shame that I've got a little bit of dust in places. There's a couple of spots on the bonnet, noticeably on the roof. Unfortunately, look, you can see that. I don't know how that's. I've sprayed the booth. Dust. I've got an anti-static brush, but if that window's open, because it's such a small space, if I'm moving about, just even me moving out my seat to get up to go out the room, that could lift a bit of fluff into the air, and somehow it's just got in there, and it's just, so I'll try and get that sanded out and get that polished up. But otherwise, I was so chuffed with that 2K clear coat. However, weirdly, you look at the 2K over the decals and stuff, it's absolutely fine. On the back one, it's left like a weird texture. I don't know why. And the same on the placard, you can see the difference between the body. So yeah, I'll just have to sand them back, polish those up. Let's touch on the devil's decals. So I will be honest, again, I had nightmares with this. That front bumper was horrendous, absolutely horrendous. So this is all you've got. That's all you've got for the instructions. That's the instructions for the front bumper. So in total, there's 8 blue pieces of decal. And for me personally, with so many pieces of decal, ideally it would have been nice to have a step by step. So first one, because you've got let's try and point it out. So you've got like one that goes across the top there, then there's one that goes across the bottom, but then obviously you've got the contour, you know, you've got the top part of the, then you've got the face of it, then it's obviously got the angles, then you've got to tuck it underneath, then you've got to shape it all around, and then you've got 1, 2, 3 on the sides. So yeah, three on either side, the 2 big long ones, but it was alignment and things like that. Which one do you start with? Do you start at the edge? Do you start at the middle? Yeah, so me personally, I think the design of it could have been laid out better. It would have been better to have first step, put this one down, second step, then add this, then add that. That to me should have been that to me would have been a bit easier. You know, am I the greatest at decals? Absolutely not. I'm no beginner, but I'm no expert. I'm okay. I'm average. I'm all right. I just think it could have been laid out a bit better. That's my personal opinion on it. But it is what it is. It's done. It's shiny. So this is going to sit for a week now, and we are going to work on the interior next. So on the next video, we'll be looking at the interior, pulling bits out. I've had a look at some reference photos online, colours of the seat, things like that. Blah, blah, blah. We'll try and add some hoses, some wiring maybe, and we can go from there. And yes, before those eagle-eyed viewers have spotted it and says, "Oh, I have missed that GQ Active decal," but that's not too late because it can still be added. Not an issue at all. Not an issue at all. So yeah, that is the Volvo, all nice and shiny, and with some very tricky decals. I won't say conquered because I feel like they conquered me. But yeah, that front bumper decal, that was a nightmare. There's actually some gaps, just in there and just in there. And luckily enough, because these side decals or this back decal here and there, because they was much bigger than what they should be, there was a bit of excess. So I managed to able to cut off the excess sort of bit of L there and a bit of an L there, and just cut them in half and almost like patch it up. But yeah, otherwise it was, yeah, tricky to say the least. But we're there. That's the main thing done. That's the body done. So yeah, now it's onto the interior, which I'm looking forward to. So yeah, this video was much longer than a usual one. But again, I just wanted to add a few bits, processes, products, tips, or whatever, you know. So between now and the next video, if there's anything you can think of and you'd like to try and, you know, for me to incorporate into a video, drop it in the comments of what you'd like to see, and I'll try and do my best to show you what I can with what little knowledge I know. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little startup video to this Volvo series, and then we'll catch you on the next ones for some interior work. So take care of yourselves, all the best, and thank you once again.